Hello and welcome back to my channel. So, like many yoga teachers, I used to always end my classes by saying Namaste, and I would explain that it meant the light and life within me bows to the light and life within you. And then about a year and a half ago, I stopped saying that. And I'm going to explain in this video how I came to that decision and what I learned. So when I first started going to yoga classes, when I first started practicing yoga, I think every single class I ever went to, the teacher would end the class by saying Namaste. And then when I decided that I wanted to teach yoga, I went through a year of yoga teacher training. When we were practicing, we all said Namaste at the end of classes. And then when I qualified, I started saying it in all the classes I taught. Now, during our teacher training, a big part of that training was learning about the history and the philosophy of yoga. We talked extensively about making sure that when we were teaching yoga, we were encompassing all that yoga is, so that we were bringing in the teachings of the 8 limbs of yoga, we were using the Sanskrit language to describe the postures, and that we were explaining to students that this is a deep historical practice and that it's not just a form of exercise. So that was a really important part of my training, and when I started teaching, it was a really important thing for me to make sure that I was getting all of that information into my classes, that I was teaching people not just how to do the poses, but also honouring the true roots of yoga by also teaching the yamas and niyamas, the moral disciplines, and the rest of the 8 limbs of yoga, to make sure that I was communicating to people that this is not just a class where we do a bit of exercise and a bit of stretching. This is part of something much bigger, much deeper and more profound, this ancient Indian practice. And then I was using Namaste at the end of my classes as, I thought, another way to show my respect and honour this culture. So then if we fast forward a couple of years, I started using Instagram and YouTube and just social media in general a lot more. And I found that through Instagram, I could start following more Indian and South Asian yoga teachers. And it really surprised me when I saw that a lot of them were talking about the way that Namaste as a word was being misused in Western yoga. I remember seeing a video by Nadia Gilani, who I'll leave her details up here somewhere. She was talking about Namaste being misused and how actually disrespectful and offensive it was to see Western yoga teachers using this word that is a Hindu sacred greeting. And it completely shocked me, it really took me aback, because she then described it as cultural appropriation. Now, cultural appropriation was something that from day one of thinking about teaching yoga, I was hyper aware of. I really wanted to make sure that whatever I was teaching was respectful, as it's something that is not part of a culture that I was born into. So in case you're not aware, the term cultural appropriation basically means taking something from another culture and passing it off as your own or profiting from it without respecting or acknowledging the culture that it comes from. And so this, of course, is something that's really important for yoga teachers to be aware of, because if, like me, you've grown up in the West with yoga not being part of your day-to-day life, then we are taking something from another culture by teaching and practicing yoga. So it's really important that we are being respectful in the way that we do that, and that we really learn as much as we can about the roots of yoga and the culture that it comes from. So when I heard Nadia talking about the misuse of the word Namaste and how it could be considered cultural appropriation, I was really taken aback. I wanted to learn a bit more, so I delved a bit deeper. I found that other yoga teachers, particularly Indian and South Asian yoga teachers, were talking about this and trying to make people a bit more aware. So what I learned was that Namaste is a Hindu greeting. It is a sacred word that is used to say hello, to welcome, to greet people. It's not used as a way of saying goodbye or ending a class. So it is appropriate, or it can be appropriate, to use Namaste as a greeting, as a welcome at the start of a yoga class, but it really doesn't make any sense to use it at the end. So it seems as if at some point within the last 100 years, let's say, as yoga gradually made its way to the West and became more and more popular, the word Namaste was taken as originally a welcome, a greeting at the start of the class, but at some point it slipped into being something that was said at the end of the class, and that's what we tend to see it as in classes today. But if you go to a yoga class in India or South Asia, you're very unlikely to hear the teacher say Namaste at the end of the class. unless maybe they're catering to a Western audience. So once I learned all of this, I thought about what I wanted to say within my own classes, and I realised that it is important to me to make sure that the words I'm using are respectful and I'm using them correctly. So it didn't make sense to me to continue saying Namaste at the end of classes. So now I just thank everyone for coming and wish them a peaceful rest of the day. I know a lot of yoga teachers who I admire greatly, who still use Namaste to end their classes. And I'm sure that, like me, they are just continuing to use it because they always have and maybe don't realise that it is a misuse of the word and can be considered disrespectful. So I wanted to put this into a video just to share what I learned and how I came to the decision to stop using the word Namaste. I will definitely be making more videos like this talking about cultural appropriation within the world of yoga. I have a lot to say about the slogans, things like Namaste in bed and Namaste bitches that we see on t-shirts and yoga mats and leggings and posters and things like that, because that's a huge problem, but I'll save that for another video. In the meantime, if you'd like something to read and sort of sink your teeth into to get into this subject a bit more, then I would definitely recommend this book. It has been really, really helpful in my learning as a yoga teacher, and so I hope that you will get a lot out of it as well. I would also recommend following lots of Indian and South Asian teachers on Instagram, so that you can make sure that the yoga that you're practicing and teaching, if you are a teacher as well, is in line with the culture that it comes from. So to get you started, here are 4 people that I've been following on Instagram and YouTube for a while now who I've learned so much from. So there's Nadia, who I mentioned before. She shares lots of amazing stuff on Instagram and has a book coming out later this year, which I will definitely be buying. There's also Kallie, who shares lots on Instagram and has a YouTube channel where she shares free, full-length yoga practices, some really lovely yin yoga practices on there. Then there's Susanna, whose book I just mentioned. Susanna shares lots of information on Instagram as well. And finally, Angie, who is on Instagram and posts really frequently lots of great stuff about yoga philosophy. She also has a YouTube channel with some practices on there too. So I hope some of this has been helpful. Please leave me a comment below, let me know what you thought. Did you already know how to use Namaste correctly, or is this new information to you? Remember to like this video if you did find it helpful, and subscribe to this channel for more yoga videos every week. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.